Hello, I'm Dr. Brian Noby, and welcome back to another riveting episode for what many are calling Talking About Teledentistry. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Erin Kennedy.
Hey everybody, how's it going, Brian?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I hope you're having a lovely, safe COVID-19 free experience today.
Oh, I am, but I'm even more excited because we have a special guest coming on the show today.
Before we introduce Dr. Brooke, we need to clarify a couple issues which have created some concern for our colleagues. Number one, I have received a lot of hate mail for my background, and I would just like to point out that the background that a clinician uses for teledentistry is a reflection of their personality. And so today, I happen to be taking care of a patient who made me a painting, and I put that painting in the background just to help me establish rapport with that patient.
Another piece of feedback is we want to make sure that you understand in our last video when we were talking about some of the logistics of teledentistry, we referred to them as teledentistry systems, and we have been corrected.
They are not systems, they are processes.
What we want to remember is that it is a safe space here. And so we're all newbies. Information is constantly changing. We're just trying to bring you the best information that we have available. And so know that our last video talked about teledentistry processes and not systems, but we still hope you check out our website with that information.
We also need to clarify that we only mentioned two teledentistry codes, D9995 and D0140. However, there are other codes that you could use. Just remember, do what you code for and code what you do for. What? Just remember, do what you code for and code for what you do. And now let's introduce our very special guest, the queen of teledentistry herself, Dr. Brooke. Welcome, Dr. Brooke.
Do I have enough plants in my background? Should I get more plants back here?
I think you're blinging pretty great. So I love the bright colors that you've brought to the space behind you. Tell us a little bit about how you practice and where you practice, because I know it's pretty unique.
So our practice is a portable dental practice, and we go into long-term care facilities for adults who have special needs and geriatric patients. And what I do is I go in and I meet them, and then I review over their medical history, and I just walk in myself with a little fanny pack that has a little mirror, and I do that. And then my hygienist will go out and she will clean their teeth, she will gather information, she will take and this is where we do our teledentistry. She'll take videos of this patient's teeth that I can look at later, and then she'll take the x-rays. Then I know what things I need to bring when I go out to do the treatment for these patients. So that's how I was doing teledentistry before the coronavirus. Now with the coronavirus, of course, we're in these long-term care facilities, one of the highest risk places you could go. So we're not going in at all. You know, it's too much of a risk for us to go to those facilities. So what we're going to be doing with teledentistry in our facilities is we're going to have the CNAs use our teledental equipment so that we can monitor oral hygiene on a regular basis. But I've also been getting a lot of calls from people who are not in long-term care facilities. I'm getting calls from people who are having dental problems, but their dental office is closed, and they know I do teledentistry, so they're wanting to do teledentistry. So my life in the last few weeks has been learning how to do teledentistry with this fancy technology, or, perhaps some of this fancy technology, or even older technology. So I've been focused primarily right now on how to do teledentistry from home with things that you have.
Dr. Brooke, you have 3 valuable insights to share with our patients today. What are those 3 valuable insights?
The first tip would be that you don't have to get everything accomplished in that one synchronous interaction, that you can go ahead and take those photos. You will have some struggles. That's okay. Everyone has struggles getting good photos of their teeth, but you can do it. Just take the time and get a good photo. The second tip I would have would be reflective surfaces. If you're looking at the compact, a lot of times people try to open wide and they say, oh, I can't fit that in my mouth. Oh, but you can. You just have to close down first and then go one side at a time. So
Nice, Brooke.
I can't go finding a compact to stick in my mouth. You got to have something else.
I do. I have for you. You can use a butter knife. You can get a reflection, and you have to have good lighting off of a butter knife. A butter knife can get you, but when you look at your butter knife, the one way that you can know how good that reflection is going to be is look at yourself in the butter knife. If you can see yourself back like a mirror, that's going to get you a better picture than say this one. I can get a decent picture, but you can see that it's not completely reflective.
You want me to stick a knife in my mouth?
Yes, and don't use this knife because
it's matte.
It's matte surface. Yeah, you don't want, that's not very reflective.
I think that knife is just a little bit more sharp than a butter knife.
And you wouldn't use it anyway because it's got a matte finish. You also have a way to do pulp testing.
Yes, we do have a way to do pulp testing. And what we do with pulp testing is we take a Q-tip and then we get it wet and then we freeze it. And we make sure when you freeze it and you put it in your freezer, you put it on a Tupperware so it doesn't just freeze to the bottom of your freezer. But we put these in about an hour ago. It takes about an hour, and it also takes about an hour for a patient to get a good photo for teledentistry. So you have them put this Q-tip in before, then they go take all their photos. By the time they're done with their photos, this is cold. And then, I mean, it's frozen, it's not just cold. And then you put it on your teeth and yep, nothing there. And I can feel it there. And one of my front teeth, I do have endo. So it does show that there is a definite difference. It's a small enough diameter to be able to test your teeth individually. If you had to test the back, you could always, but that's what you want to do with that live synchronous teledentistry. You don't want the patient to touch it and then tell you, because they really don't know what tooth they're touching, and you want to be able to see them and see what tooth they're touching. So this is the part where synchronous comes into play. I also recommend that you do more than one Q-tip. Here we have 3 of them. I would probably say do 3 or 4 of them because they do lose that frozen pretty fast. And if you want to do multiple cold tests, or if maybe the patient touches the wrong tooth or something, it doesn't work very well more than once or twice. So I would say to get a few Q-tips when you do that, you want them to be spaced apart, because when they all freeze together and then you try to pull them apart, that doesn't work out very well. And so you want to have your Q-tips spaced apart on a Tupperware that you can take out. And then I would just take one out at a time with your dentist, and then do the synchronous exam, or have your patient, do the synchronous exam with one at a time. So these would still be in there freezing.
One thing I noticed is that when I'm doing pulp testing, one of the other great tips that we typically try to do in the dental office, but we still want to be able to do when someone's in their home, is to actually do a bite test. So if you're biting down or tapping on a tooth, if it's uncomfortable. So one of the tips that I've found, which I think you've actually found a way to do that another way, is to use a chopstick. So if you take this little chopstick, this is one of my takeout teledentistry tips, but you can take the blunted end of that chopstick and you can go tooth by tooth, just like this. And you can test each tooth to see if it's uncomfortable when you bite down. But you mentioned that not everyone goes for takeout like I do. And so do you have another tip if you're trying to test when someone's tooth is hurting when they bite down?
We just came up with this tip today because I loved Dr. Kennedy's takeout teledentistry tip with the chopstick, and I personally do have chopsticks, but I know a lot of my patients don't. So I thought, well, what can we do for those of us in Idaho that may not have the chopstick, And I thought about shish kebab skewers. A lot of us like to barbecue, and a lot of us like to, put like shrimps and steaks and all sorts of delicious stuff on here. And we also can use this for Dr. Kennedy's takeout teledentistry idea, and you can do a bite stick with your shish kebab skewers.
Awesome. That's a great tip, Brooke.
As the queen of teledentistry, who are your experts that you turn to for even more good advice?
Well, that is so sweet that you guys call me the queen of teledentistry. There are people out there that know much more than I do. Dr. Scott Howell over at A.T. Still University taught me a lot of what I know with teledentistry. I've also learned a lot from Dr. Paul Glassman.
Great. So you can go look up Dr. Scott Howell and Dr. Paul Glassman for even more insights into how to perform teledentistry. Thanks for joining us for yet another riveting episode of Talking About Teledentistry. Thank you, Dr. Brooke. Thank you, Dr. Aaron. And keep checking back to the MPE Fund website for more valuable insights into how to perform teledentistry like a pro in this era of COVID-19.